Are you ready to move to Sioux Falls? Welcome back to another episode of Move to Sioux Falls. Today we got to talk to Jenna Harris, policyholder to the mayor of Sioux Falls, and we got to talk about how everyone has a voice here and how she moved from West Coast to the Midwest and how everyone's just so friendly. If you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe, and let's check it out. I don't know.
That's crazy.
We're moving.
Are you?
Yeah, we don't know yet.
Oh.
Moving into this house for the interim.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we closed November 1. It was just like, Kayla and I were like talking about it. And we're like, well, if there's ever a client that like says like they want to upgrade their house and it kind of sounds like my house or our house, we're like, we'll ask them if they want it. And then literally a week later, they're like, hey, we're looking to upgrade. And I was like, you guys want to look at my house? I showed them like 5 other houses, not to push them into anything. Then we went all the way on a trip, and they're like, "Hey, can we talk to you on Sunday?" They were like, "We want to buy your house."
That
we're like,
stresses
"Okay."
me out that you're moving and like don't. Oh my gosh.
Okay. Thanks.
That feels more stressful to me than moving 2,000 miles away, like we did. I don't know. Like,
well, yeah, because you're like, well, did you have a house already lined up too?
Yeah, we bought it.
So
we bought it 2 months before we moved in.
Yeah. So my brother-in-law and my sister are moving from San Diego.
Oh, are they?
They said they were. So hopefully, and they might buy this place. But I was like, hey, if you don't have something, hopefully I'll be out of this place and they could just rent for a little while too. So they were like, and I planned out how they should do their transition.
Yes.
And my brother-in-law was like, I'm not a planner. I'm so glad you sent this. I feel like I can get there then.
Yeah.
So, because they're like, the cost of living is too much here now.
Yeah. Where in San Diego are they? Do you know?
They're in...
I feel like they were like northern.
They're in Spring Valley.
Oh, that's
but they're
right.
in the good side of Spring Valley.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
we looked at Spring Valley before we bought our first house in San Marcos.
Okay. And then I think they rented before that in like New Chula, like West Chula Vista, where they're like building all this new stuff. So
yeah.
Do you ever get out there?
No. I mean, no. Like, and I don't miss it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't miss it at all. Like, we went to California in March for my grandpa's funeral.
Okay.
I spent one day in San Diego just to like see friends and get a bowl of ramen, and then you know, went back up. And
so you don't miss the traffic.
I forgot. Like, you live here and you like forget how good it is.
Yeah, because people are like, oh, traffic sucks in Sioux Falls. And you're like, no way.
Right. It's all about perspective. Like, when you're sitting here in traffic, what people think is traffic, it feels like it's the hardest thing in the world. Yeah. And then we were there, and I mean, I swear my blood pressure just shot up just like being on the freeway.
Did you lay the horn down a couple of times?
Oh, gosh, yeah. Well, in fact, Bobby drove mostly because he was like, Jenna, like, you're gonna kill us. I'm like, no, I'm fine. Yeah. But it was better for everybody, I think. Yeah.
Kayla will only let me drive when we go to those bigger cities.
So. I like to drive, but like, it was just stressful, and like, I was emotional, and I was really just angry at all the drivers too. And so Bobby's like, I'm just gonna go ahead and drive. I'm like, okay, I'll be DJ.
For sure.
So
that's awesome.
All right, do we do this now? Does it sound okay?
You're good. Oh. So Jenna Harris. We have you on the podcast. You're the policy advisor to the mayor of Sioux Falls.
Yes.
I really appreciate you being on to the Move to Sioux Falls channel. Yeah. We're here in a Sodex Days property. My wife and I run property management. And
it's beautiful. This property is great.
It's funky. It's a little bit of an older vibe of a house, but we kind of like it that way. Yeah. So unique, try to stand out. So we're just... with Move to Sioux Falls, it's not just about another transaction of buying and selling properties. We're trying to teach the community who's out there, who are the faces in the community, why you'd want to be plugged in here if you already live here or if you're coming from abroad. So that's why we do this podcast. We're going to just start with some easy HitFire questions.
Okay.
So let's do favorite place that you've visited outside of Sioux Falls.
Oh, geez. We camped at Lewis and Clark State Park this summer over Labor Day, and it was beautiful.
That's awesome.
I really loved that.
I wish they had some houses along the reservoir
They
over
have
there,
some on
but
the other side.
they do on the Nebraska side.
Yes,
Yep.
yeah.
But I think when I looked into it, because I was like, man, if I could try to get some land, it's all like government owned on that south or the north side of the reservoir or man-made river.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful, and I think it's great that they keep it parkland. But I'm with you. Like, I would love to pick up a property there too. Yeah.
What's your favorite restaurant here in Sioux Falls?
Okay, this is tough because I love Maribella. Love it.
They're great.
But I'm kind of a little obsessed with BB Soul right now too.
Gotcha.
You know, coming from San Diego, Mexican food is a way of life.
Yep.
And
for sure.
it's tough to find good, authentic Mexican food here. Yep. And I think BB Soul is really great too.
Good. Shout out to BB Soul.
But I love all of the Maribella. I love our wine bar. I love Trio Jazz Club. So fun.
Yes.
We just went last week. So fun. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. What's your favorite like hobby to do? Are you like, I'm too busy?
I don't really have hobbies. I read.
Okay.
Like 10 minutes here and there when I can.
Yeah. Like you got a Goodreads app or something. You keep a list of books you want.
Yeah. But I do. I mean, I'm a handheld book reader.
Good.
So
Same. We go to the library.
I can't do on the virtual, the digital.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of books, I'm getting a book published in January.
Exciting.
Called
Congrats.
Not Just Another Transaction.
Congrats.
It will be an ebook or book. Ebook is free for everyone. If you need a physical copy, it's going to cost you a little because, you got to actually make the product.
Yep.
So, but hopefully that'll help out home buyers, home sellers, home investors, single family, just get educated on the process.
So important.
So I don't know if there's enough resources out there yet. So
I don't think so either. And, looking back to when we bought our first house in San Diego, we were 23, I think, my husband and I, and we just, you don't know what you don't know when you're that young.
Yeah.
And we got some bad advice and paid a hefty tuition on that a couple times.
Yeah.
It took us like 3 transactions to really get it right.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important to have resources available to folks. So
it's just exciting. It's so much information too. Yeah. So it's just like a nice, if you know what you're doing, it's a nice review thing to just go back and flip through and be like, where am I at in the process? Totally. So kind of why you're invited to the launch party, by the way, and make sure Mayor Paul comes because I invited him already.
Hey, you know what? His calendar is wackier than mine. I will do my best.
Yeah. I have it down where he told me it's like if I plan a month ahead for him, he's good.
Yeah.
And so I plan 3 months ahead for him on this one. So
yeah. Good.
I mean, unless like there's some very big like
something
political thing that he has to attend, like I totally get that then, So
yeah,
cool. Who do you call or text the most? I always like that question.
Oh, my husband for sure.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, and it's everything from stuff about running our business to stuff about the kids. I send him a ton of like Instagram stories that are just so like relevant to parenting. I love that. And it just kind of helps you laugh about the hard things about having 2 young kids. So he doesn't always respond. I don't even know if he looks at them all the time, but I do text him a lot.
Okay, last question. Kamala or Trump? No, I'm kidding.
Oh, jeez. You said easy rapid fire questions.
Yeah. Cool. All right. We'll move it right into more of the bigger long form questions. So we appreciate you joining us for this episode of Move to Sioux Falls. Your support means a lot to us. Make sure to follow and subscribe at Move to Sioux Falls to stay up with the latest content. Okay. So kind of give us a story, like your story, like I can't even remember. Last time we talked, I think it was Startup Sioux Falls. Yes. I was teaching you about like investors.
Some of the local investment market.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't even know. Are you originally from here? No. And I think I saw on LinkedIn you went to USF, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then just kind of give me your story of like how you got from where you started to here in Sioux Falls and then beyond that.
So, I was born in Orange County, California.
Okay.
My family moved to Oregon, Portland metro area when it was still very rural, in the 90s.
Okay.
And I married my high school sweetheart at 19, who had joined the Marine Corps and was stationed in California, 29 Palms. It is like the desertiest of deserts. And moved there with him. And then in 2011, he was medically retired from the military after his deployment. And so we said, well, where are we going to go? Like, we don't really want to go back home to Portland, right? And we don't want to stay out here because it just wasn't a lot of opportunity. And so we went to San Diego. And I thought for sure we would stay for maybe like 2 years. And then we ended up staying for 11 years.
Whoa.
Built our careers, had 2 kids, bought a portfolio of rental properties, and said, I think COVID had some influence on it too, obviously, but I think Evelyn starting kindergarten, it was right around that time. And so we said, this is a good time to do it. And so we started getting really serious about looking where we want to go. Because throughout that whole 11 years, we were kind of always top of mind. Like every place we went, could we live here? What do we like about it? I would go into grocery stores and just like chat up random people about how they like living where they are. And so we decided on Sioux Falls after visiting twice. So we came the first time in October, which of course was gorgeous, in 2021. And then came back in February of 22 to see if we could handle the cold living on the West Coast. Because even in Oregon, we did not get, it was rarely below 30 degrees. So I never felt that cold before.
But with climate change now, it's like, I feel like the last 2 years have been like January to March is like when it's cold and then it's done. It's not like this long... What is it? October 22. It's 80
and it's
degrees
like 80
out.
degrees out.
Like it used to be. That was like, oh, it's 30 and you're screwed till end of March.
I know.
So
and last year it snowed right before Thanksgiving or right before Halloween.
And then
but it melted and it was fine. And till Halloween was actually warmer than the previous year. So it was great. And the winters haven't bothered me much. Like March, I get a little like, okay, we're done now. I need sunshine and warmth, please. But, I think we love it here. We decided we could do the cold. And so that was in February. We listed our house for sale in March, bought a house here in April, and then moved in June when kids finished preschool.
So you just did a long close.
Yeah. Well, no, we actually closed on this one here. And then we actually did like a rent back on our house in San Diego. So we closed on both of them in April. But we did a rent back on our house in San Diego. And it was kind of funny. We actually bought this house as a vacation home. As like a second property because we knew we planned to take a year off when we moved here. And so we thought, okay, there's no way we're going to be able to buy a house without regular income, right? We had, still had our net worth and whatever, but not enough net worth to borrow against, right? And so we were like, okay, well, let's just buy it now and see. So that's how we had to make it work.
Oh, that's awesome.
And our lender was hilarious. He's like, so vacation home in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It's beautiful there. You're going to love it. You should totally go check it out. But yeah, so we had 2 mortgages for a little bit and then moved out in June.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've been here 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Yep.
Okay. I had a question. It just kind of like popped in my brain. What was a close second from Sioux Falls? What would be your other destination?
Fayetteville, Arkansas.
Yep.
So when we did that trip in October of 21, we flew into Sioux Falls to see a couple friends that had moved here. I totally thought I was going to hate it. I thought it was going to be too flat, not enough trees, all the things, right? And then we also looked at Omaha, Kansas City, and then we went to Fayetteville, Bentonville area in Arkansas, and holy cow, it's beautiful there. It's in the Ozarks. The people were friendly. housing prices are insanely cheap there.
Yeah.
Like, it's wild,
Yeah.
even compared to here. And it looked like Oregon. Like, it really
Yeah.
did. It had, like, beautiful hills with trees and water everywhere
Kind of like
running
the Black
through.
Hills.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
it was so beautiful. But, I mean, it was pretty clear to us. We'd ask people there, like, "What do you like about living here?" And the first thing everyone said was, "Well, housing's cheap."
oh,
We asked people in Sioux Falls, and they list off 10 reasons that they love this
yeah.
community. The
Hmm.
people are friendly, schools are great, your neighbors help you.
Hmm.
And that's what we were looking for. We were
Yeah.
looking for a community that had our values so that we could really put down roots and raise our kids in a way that we're proud of,
Yeah.
you know?
And and knowing the dynamic of San Diego right now and like why my brother-in-law and sister are moving is like they're just like always working so much that they're like that's the only thing we have time for, and then we may get to take a day off a
Mm.
year, and I'm like, whoa. So like
Yeah.
to be able to come here and do that, that's like I feel like it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Plus the city's growing,
Mhm.
and you're like you want to kind of see that trajectory when you're moving somewhere is like a growing city. Like
Yeah.
in Arkansas, was it like, hey, we're adding all these things and we're
Yeah,
growing,
there
or
was quite a bit
okay,
of development, and
okay,
it's a
that's good.
college town, but
Okay.
truthfully, there's really only two large businesses there,
Oh,
Walmart and Tyson Chicken.
yeah.
And so there's just it's not a diverse economy. And so
Yes.
you don't get all the opportunities that you have in Sioux Falls,
Yeah.
right?
With
And
Sioux Falls,
so,
it's like our healthcare system, the
yeah.
farming system,
Mhm.
Amazon
Yeah.
coming, and a
Yeah.
whole slew of other things that I can't even
Mhm.
just rattle off the top of my head because there's
Mhm.
so many.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I just think for us it was really, I mean, we did work a ton
yeah.
in San Diego. Like, we were both in executive roles, just like killing ourselves. Which is why we had planned on taking a year off when
Yeah.
we moved here, and we both failed at that, by the way. Um,
You always got to be doing something.
yes, yes. And we just really wanted somewhere that had our values
For
and,
sure.
kind of um just aligned with our priorities in life, which we
Yes.
weren't living our priorities in
Yeah.
San Diego because it was just hard. You're in the rat race, and
Hmm.
the culture is just very, very different
For sure.
there. And so I think it's we realized that, wow, we really aren't living our values, and so
Yeah.
let's go somewhere and reprioritize and live our values.
That's
So
awesome. I think
yeah.
San Diego too this year just got voted the least affordable place to live in the country.
Wow.
So,
Maybe
yeah.
it's possible.
I mean, I only know that because
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
sisters both like two of my three sisters live there.
Yeah.
So, they're like,
I mean, I believe it.
so,
Yeah.
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 Um so I was kind of looking at your LinkedIn. I was being a little bit of a stalker, not a lot.
Little cyber
Yeah,
stalker.
yeah, yeah. So you kind of started in consulting down in San Diego, I noticed, and then you kind of went into, I think it was some like Golden Gate consulting company after that.
So my first like big kid job,
Yeah, okay.
right, was with a consulting firm that did political fundraising for candidates.
Okay.
So that's kind of how I got my foot in the door in
Yeah.
politics in the 2012 election.
And have you always wanted to be in politics?
I've always been interested in it,
Okay.
and then I think my interest really peaked around the time my husband was planning to deploy to Afghanistan. And I
Okay.
started really paying attention to global affairs, foreign policy,
Mhm.
rules of engagement, NATO rules, all of it. And I just kind of got really into that. And so I totally thought I was going to be into foreign policy, right?
Okay, yeah.
And I kind of fell into local government,
Okay.
but realized that I really enjoyed it
Gotcha.
a lot because I think you get to see your tangible impact more.
Yeah, for
When
sure.
people are living their lives, that impacts us way more on a day-to-day basis than what's going on overseas or at the federal level.
Yeah, and I mean with the election coming up, and I know this will probably air after it,
Mhm.
it happens, but I always tell people in Sioux Falls like, "Hey, go vote for municipal government elections." And people are
Mhm.
like, "Why? I'd rather vote for the president." And
I
I'm like,
know.
"Those guys don't affect you as much
No,
as
not at all.
the local level."
Yep.
And I don't understand how to like get that point across.
It's hard. I
Yeah.
mean, I think some of it is that Sioux Falls is not like a hyper political environment, which
Yeah.
is awesome. Like, don't get
Yeah.
me wrong, I love that. But the challenge, I think the flip side of that benefit is a very disengaged electorate, right?
Hmm.
Like people aren't engaged, people aren't
Yeah.
paying attention. Um, People don't even know who their elected officials are,
Yeah.
and what they stand for or what they even have influence over, right? I
Hmm.
mean, I think
That's
people.
like with the Harrisburg bill that passed. I think it was like 2 years ago. It was like some $1 million bill that caused property taxes to go up
Oh,
for like
sure.
schools.
Yep.
And then all these people got pissed after the election and were like,
Mhm.
there was only like 3,000 voters of the like
Mhm.
15 to
Yeah,
16,000 that could vote. And you're like, well, if you guys all would have voted no,
I
you would
know.
have like won.
Yeah. I mean, and it's, I know, like you said, this will probably air after the election, but there's a lot of ballot measures on this ballot
Yeah,
this year
for
that
sure.
will be wildly impactful
Hmm.
to the average Joe resident.
Yes,
Um,
100%.
and same with, in 2026, we'll have more city councilors that are up
Yeah.
for either reelection or their seats, are termed out, and there'll be a mayor election. And so
Yep.
I think, people just gotta start paying attention.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Mhm.
Um, I kind of want to ask you because I just got this email from I think it was Aaron or it was Aaron about like
Aaron, yep,
2050 planning.
yep, yep.
And so they just like asked me to talk about things that we could use for
Mhm.
planning by 2050 for Sioux Falls, which is great. I think
Mhm.
planning and having that path is better than not having a plan of action to do stuff. But it's like I almost think like I've talked to people and they're like, "Oh, we need affordable housing. We need to do something." And I kind of want your thoughts since you're like policy advisor and the ins and outs of everything. If you can answer, like
Mhm.
what are your thoughts on like doing like multi-use building or ADUs, like introducing that to be like an easier process to happen because I feel like Sioux Falls can't build out anymore
Mhm.
as we get into more and more farmland, and we kind of need that farmland
Mhm.
for the industry of the nation. So like what are your thoughts on like for affordable housing doing like ADUs or multi-use buildings where it's like, hey, we might have like the Perch just came out, right? In
Yeah.
downtown.
Mhm.
It's in a residential section, but like it's restaurant and then there's like two offices. What if those
Mhm.
two offices turned into rentals to
Right.
provide like affordable housing?
Mhm.
Like, do you think those are like good things that we could utilize? Or
Yeah.
is there a problem or a challenge like shifting into that area?
Sure. So there's a lot to unpack there.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a lot. I think first of all, the Sioux Falls 2050 it's called the comprehensive plan update.
Comprehensive plan. Yep.
And I will say, like, this city does planning really well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have we have a plan for everything, for parks master plan,
Mm-hmm.
for aquatics, for our road system. I mean, it's amazing that the
Mm-hmm.
city invests so much
Yep.
in making sure that we're growing in the right way. First I want to touch on building out.
Okay.
The challenge with continuing to build out is it's really hard for particularly our public works department to keep up with that growth. And so they have what are called, and I'm not an engineer, so
Yes.
I'm just going to say it in layman's terms
For
because that's
sure.
what I understand.
Yeah.
We have like sewer basins, and we
Mm-hmm.
have to open up a whole nother sewer basin for every new kind of area that
Yep.
homes are going to be built in. And that has to be strategically decided
Mm-hmm.
because if we're opening up basins on the east side and the west side and the north side, then we have to invest a ton of money to to bring water to those
Yep.
homes, to bring power to those homes, roads, all of that. So, um, I do think everything's on the table in terms
Yep.
of the comp plan, and the team is going out. They were out at Riverfest
Yep.
and the farmers market this
Mm-hmm.
summer, and they'll continue to do that through next summer. There's going to be some surveys sent out, and I would just encourage everybody to just give their opinions
Yeah.
because it matters, and um, there is a scientific survey that is intentionally, you know, they're targeting people based on certain demographics that mirror our economy and our
Yep.
population here. But everybody will have an opportunity to fill out a survey.
That's awesome.
And I think that's really important. We're going to use that qualitative analysis to determine some things as well.
Hmm.
You know, affordable housing it's a challenge.
For sure.
And truthfully, I prefer to talk about housing affordability
Hmm.
because affordable housing, at least to me, in, you know, coming from California, is like a subsidized unit or like
Yes.
a rent capped unit,
Yeah.
which is fine. But I think a healthy economy should have all the tools in place to make building a house more affordable, whatever
Correct.
that means, whatever that looks like, whether it's you know, the appropriate sewer fees to be equitable, the appropriate permitting fees, which
Hmm.
by the way, I'm just going to like shout out to our planning and development services department. I got my basement permitted in like 24 hours when
Yeah.
we were finished our basement. I waited for 3 months for a permit in San Diego just to add a shower and a bathroom. And I
Yeah.
finally just like threw my hands up. I'm like, no, we're just going to do it. I can't. This
Yeah.
was so bad.
And then
So,
hopefully we get the permit. We'll be okay.
right.
Yeah.
And
I agree with you. The
yes.
planning, like if I have to
Mhm.
ask her, like, hey, someone's buying a house, they want to add part of the garage. Like,
Yep.
do I meet the standards to get a
Mhm.
building permit? They usually respond in
Yes.
under 24
Yes.
hours.
And
It's
permits are
awesome.
cheap here. I mean,
Yeah.
truthfully, it doesn't cost thousands of dollars
No.
to add a room onto your house in terms of permit fees.
Yeah.
And I do think some of it is just the economy. And, you know, we've been having such serious inflation. And then
Hmm.
from the federal level, all of the environmental regulations
Yes.
are starting to catch up to Sioux Falls a little bit. I
No.
mean, I know and I mean, it's not anything the city's doing. It's
Yeah,
just things that are, you know, happening at the federal level where
for sure.
you know, you have to have this or building suppliers aren't selling, you know, the lower cost materials because that's now the national
Hmm.
required standard. So, um I do think that with this comprehensive plan update, though, all the right voices are at the
Yep.
table. From a stakeholder
Yep.
perspective, you know, we have builders, we have affordable housing builders, we
Yep.
have property managers, homelessness advocates, you know, we
Real estate
have real
agents.
estate agents, we have the economic development
Yep.
team, chamber, business advocates, all of it. Like they're all at the table. The school district is,
Yep.
you know, all of these organizations are at the table. So I think having all of those diverse perspectives is going to get us to a really reasonable and ambitious but doable plan.
Yeah. And I think you touched on something that was really like that you said before is that we have a community that like is okay with like meeting in the middle
Mhm.
on stuff. It's not like hard on this side or
Yes.
hard on the other
Yes.
side. They usually like, hey, let's negotiate a little bit and get to
Mhm.
the middle where we can make a
Totally.
little bit of sacrifices to have a win-win.
I've seen it a lot of times just in my short time
Yeah.
living here. And you're right. People here are in it for the right reasons in leadership. And I think that there's just a willingness to get it done, like
Yeah.
get whatever the it is, to
Yeah.
just get it done, that people are just more pragmatic in the way they approach things. You know, it's they'd rather get the project done
Hmm.
than be right.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and so I think that that's really unique to this community. At least, I mean, I've only lived in a few places, but um it's
Hey,
noticeable
hey,
here.
everyone has a voice.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
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 Um, so let's kind of shift down politics a little bit into more of like your role. So like
Mhm.
how did you like get into the policy advisor role? And like are you loving it? What do you do on a day to day or is it different every day?
Yeah, so my whole career is in public policy and politics,
Yeah.
from candidate fundraising to working for an elected official in San Diego. I also did 2 stints at the San Diego County Taxpayers Association,
Okay.
which is like a nonprofit, nonpartisan kind of think tank and advocacy group.
Okay.
And then when I came here, I said I am done with politics. Like I do not want to do it anymore. It was just exhausting.
Yeah.
And so I had no intention of being in, public policy
For sure.
anymore. And then I had met the mayor at, I think it was Josiah, very briefly. And
Yeah.
then he reached out, in like fall of 2022.
Yeah.
And at first I'm like, no, like I'll meet with you, but no, like I just am done.
Yeah.
Um, but I chatted with him and I chatted with Eric Beck, his chief of staff, for a
Mhm.
very long time and said, I think this culture is going to be very different and will make it a lot more enjoyable and fun and exciting to be a part of public policy, right?
Yeah. You're like, "All
And
right, back into
so,
politics?"
right. And I absolutely am so grateful that one, he reached out, and
Yeah.
two, that I took the position because um it's night and day from the politicking and public policy in San Diego. I
Yeah.
mean, in
Good.
every way. And I love my job. I get to work with a ton of different people on a ton of different projects every day. I mean, my calendar is bonkers.
I
And
know, I know. We had to reschedule it 1 or
yes,
2
I
times, so
I
which is
know
fine. So,
it's tough. And I mean, my day I could have 7 different meetings on 7 totally different topics.
oh, yeah,
From something related to transit to something related to healthcare policy to something that is a building policy or water rates, or I mean
for
it's
sure.
so it's
You gotta keep your mind so
yeah.
fresh. I feel like that's
Yeah.
why, like, this isn't like at the federal level when people say, like, "Oh, look at the president after 4 years. He looks like he aged like 10
Yeah.
years." It's
Wouldn't you?
because you got
Yeah.
so many things to remember and
Yes.
so many, like, flexible changes with what you're thinking about.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I mean, you make the best decision you
Yeah,
can with the information you have at the time and then try to look ahead. And that's not always easy. And elected officials and city leaders, like they get it wrong sometimes, right?
yeah,
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's human.
yeah,
You don't want elected leaders or even department heads, right, that say, well, I'm always right all the time.
yeah,
And I haven't seen that at all at the city. Our directors are incredible. They are
for
smart, they
sure.
are passionate. Um, and again, going back to that, like just getting it done, like they just want to do good things.
Yeah.
Right. And so they find a way.
Good. Yeah, and I think if the goal is, hey, we want to do the best thing for the city and we get it wrong, it's like, hey, at least I knew like I was trying to do
Hmm.
the best
Hmm.
for the people,
Yeah. And
right?
maybe the
So,
pivot is smaller because you did all your homework in the
yeah,
beginning. Maybe it's
for
not like a
sure.
total 180, but it's like,
Hmm.
oh, we need to just shift this a little bit.
Agreed.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, shifting out of politics a little bit more,
Okay.
new business owner.
Yes.
How is it going? How easy was it to become a business owner? Like I always
Mm.
preach, like South Dakota, if you want to start a business, here is the place to be.
Yes. So, I will share my kind of journey to how we got here
Yeah,
because I
yeah,
think
yeah,
it's really
yeah.
relevant to this topic. But yeah, we just started, my husband and I started the Brothers That Just Do Gutters. So we literally just do gutters and gutter guards and all of that. And he runs all the day-to-day operations
Awesome.
and it's just been great. We opened in March. The community's been so welcoming and helpful. And it's going really well. And it was super easy to get started here. And I mean, for example, when I was trying to get our sales tax license, I picked up the phone and called the office and got like a human on
Yeah.
the phone, which is that would never happen in California. It's
You,
just too big.
yep.
You would never get that. And so, just things like that, like services are just so much more accessible. Guidance is accessible. And the other thing that we just really noticed when we first got here, I started just chatting with people and they connected me to other people.
Mhm.
We started down the path of trying to open a craft distillery because
Okay.
that's my
Yeah.
husband's dream. And I
Oh,
love like the business puzzle side of it and the
for sure.
regulation side of it.
Yeah.
And so that was our original plan, was to spend a
Gotcha.
year kind of getting that up and running. And, we came here, nobody knew who we were. Nobody
Yeah.
knew, like we had great reputations in San Diego, but like nobody knew us here. And it's amazing just how willing
Hmm.
people were to meet with you and give you advice and connect you with the right people
Hmm.
and believe in you. I mean, I feel like I had conversations with just a couple people about, hey, I want to open a distillery. And I kind of started saying it as like, oh yeah, well, it's down the road and whatever. And they were like, let's do it.
You
Like,
should
let's
do
figure it
it.
out.
Yeah.
And it's no fault of theirs, but we went through this whole process of trying to buy an existing brewery, couldn't come to terms. And then what we learned in that process was there's a lot of comfort in buying something that is already kind of baked, kind of built,
Yep.
rather than starting from the ground up in this phase of life with our 2 young kids.
For
And,
sure. I mean,
so
I'm going through that right now.
it's
So
tough,
it's super tough.
And so we decided to put that on hold and started looking at franchise opportunities. And we're introduced to this brand. We interviewed, I think, 12 or 13 different brands in all industries.
Oh, okay. What was second? I got to do what was the second on the list?
I don't even know that there really was a second.
Okay. It was just like, hey, all of our blinders are to these guys.
Yeah. I mean, they were the last company that we interviewed, and it's kind of a shame that I don't have a second, because I would love to, by the end of next year, start another business, and just kind of keep building onto that,
For sure.
so that we have enough comfort that we can take a big risk and like start a distillery.
For sure.
So yeah, I mean, the company culture is great, and they aligned with our values, and provided a lot of support for franchisees, which is what we needed, so that we can just focus on the things that we're good at. And it's going great.
Where is the franchise's headquarters?
So they're in like upstate New York.
Okay. Gotcha.
Which is helpful because they know weather, so when we're telling them, okay, tell me about how you deal with winters.
Yep.
They know winters.
They're not just like, oh, we're in Texas or California and we don't get winter.
Right. Yeah. So there's a lot of, and then just the owner network is great. Like we talk all the time with the owners in North Dakota, in Minnesota,
that's awesome.
and they're in Idaho, and they're just so supportive, and it's great. So
you hit something really cool. You talked about when you got here, you didn't know like anybody, and the network was just awesome and open and willing. I was talking to my sister-in-law from New York City, and she's trying to start a little bit of a side hustle. And she's like, when I'm doing these podcasts and these interviews, she's like, you get this uploaded and make it look so easy. And like, how did you get like your video guy, or how did you do this? I was like, I went to Startup Sioux Falls, or I went to like YPN stuff, and you just like ask and talk to people. But I think it is harder to find those right niche people who are doing the same thing, or they're like a little bit ahead of you in those larger cities, because it's almost like you're either established or you're not really established, and you're in like crowdfunding circles, and like if you're not in those circles, they're like, hey, you're not with us. Bye.
It's just so competitive out there too, in a non-productive way. Like here, of course, it's competitive, and everybody here that I encounter typically has a very driven mentality, which is great, but they don't approach it as a competition. I mean, I've always said, like my whole career, that rising tides lift all ships, right? And here it really feels like that's the culture here. It's like, hey, your success will bring these other people success, and me success, and we'll have this and this in our community, and it'll be a place where our kids want to stay when they grow up and be close to us.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was actually just thinking about how easy it was to like apply for an LLC.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, in California, you have to like apply for it. It costs a lot of money, and then you have to like get certain advertisements to be like known as a real business before they're like, okay, now you can do business. It's like the weirdest thing.
I didn't even try to get an LLC in California. My consulting firm was a sole proprietorship, and then we had an LLC in Indiana, where we had some investment properties, which, by the way, we sold them all. We sold all of our investment properties in Tennessee and Indiana, because it's
a lot of headache.
It's a lot of headache.
Yeah.
And that's, we kind of redirected that into our business, which has been
that's awesome,
a lot easier.
How is navigating, because I work with my wife on Sodax Days, how is navigating, and I say this because a lot of people say, how do you do business with your wife and you do life with do day-to-day with the kids and everything? And I'm like, we're married. Like, why wouldn't we do partners, all of life together? So how is navigating that with your husband? on
I
the
mean,
business and family
okay.
side of things.
So we got married at 19,
Yeah.
right? And so we grew up together,
Yeah.
right? Like we weren't 30 years old and both had our separate lives that we had to merge together.
Mhm.
We literally grew up together. And I think that is incredibly helpful
Mhm.
because we've been through so much together, whether it be deployments, surgeries, school, all of these things. Like we've done it together
Yeah.
and persevered. We've started businesses, we've had investment properties, like all these different things. And so that's really helpful. And it's funny because we always worked really well together. And then he and I finished our undergrad degrees together in a degree completion program.
Okay.
And we did strengths finders during that
Yeah.
experience. And we found that we are exactly complementary.
Oh,
Like
okay. So
I
like
am,
opposites attract kind of
yes,
thing.
like and his strengths make up my shortcomings and vice versa. Like I'm the kind of idea person. I come up with these crazy ideas, and then
Yep.
he's the person who just executes and makes it happen.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. And that's how we do life too. So I'm not going to say it's not challenging,
For sure.
especially right now, since he is just working his tail off all the time on this
Yeah.
business. And so then I kind of joke that like, I'm kind of the pigeon that like flies in, craps all over it, and then flies away, right? Because I come in and I'm like, oh, well, we should do this, or have we thought about this, or um, this angle or problem solving strategy.
And then he's probably like, oh, I have to do so much more work now.
Well, yeah. And also like, lady, you don't know what's going on. Like you're not out on the truck every day, And so it's a growing experience, but you're
sure.
right. We are true partners in literally everything we do.
Yeah.
And I am very fortunate to have found my true life partner like so young, because I don't think we would have had anything. Like I would not have what I have now if he wasn't there supporting me, and vice versa.
See, I would love to know a study. Like I don't know if it's out there. I probably could just look it up. But like the people that get married at an earlier age, do they
Oh,
stay married the whole time, opposed to,
know.
hey, you got to be the person who you are, figure out your life first, and then at like 30 to 35, then you get married, and then it's like, oh, like 5 years later, divorce happened.
Yes.
And
I would be interested. I was talking to a friend about this too the other day, because I just can't imagine being my age with all of my things going on and merging my life with someone else's right now. Like it just seems harder. Not that it was easy to be 19 and poor and struggling together, but I think in some ways it was easy, because we look back and we're like, okay, we could handle that.
Yep.
We can handle anything.
It's like the human body, right? It's not like you do one like bench press session and you're like, I'm instantly strong. It's like a constant, okay, we're weak, we're building together. And so it always just takes time. And to go through those things together with someone, I think strengthens that relationship.
Oh, for sure.
So
yeah. I mean, I think, what do they say? Money, kids, and what's the other one that they say? Oh, health conditions. And it's like, okay, well, we've had money struggles.
Yep.
We have kids.
Yep.
We've both had pretty serious like medical challenges.
For sure.
And like, so okay.
What
What else can you throw at us?
Exactly.
So I think he's awesome.
That's awesome.
He's great.
Cool. Okay, last question I usually ask everybody.
Okay.
If budget wasn't an issue, what would be the top 3 things that you would bring to Sioux Falls or like add to it, even though it's way awesome still? Mayor Paul already talked about like funding the staff and like the police officer, so you can't use that one.
Oh no, I'm going selfish on this one.
Okay, cool.
So I really miss a high-end hotel and spa, like with an adults only pool where I can like have a day to myself, like, and just really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like a whole day, not just like go get a massage and come home.
Yeah,
right?
like Radiance needs to just like build up more and have like a go extravagant.
Yeah, and I would, I mean, in San Diego, that was kind of my like decompression thing. That and wineries, which are not going to happen here, because if climate weren't an issue, then we could have, different wines. But spa, like high-end spa with a hotel in it, so that I could like stay the night and like really just, catch up on sleep. All those things.
Yeah, I saw this really funny reel, and it was like this guy standing outside and he's like, all the things you hated as a kid are now your goals. And it was like
Going to bed
sleep,
at 7:30.
exercise, read a book. And I'm like, oh, 100%.
Totally.
That is me right now.
Yes. Okay. Second would
Yep.
be probably, I mean, I think our convention center, like all that project with Riverline
Yep.
District area down there, building a convention center in downtown would completely like transform our city in so many ways.
For sure.
It would help spur economic growth. We would get more money to do things like, build housing and things like that. And just get some really cool conventions here.
Yeah.
I mean, I never went to Comic-Con in San Diego, but the whole city was just like buzzing with excitement.
sure.
Like the whole downtown transformed into Comic-Con, even if you didn't have to have a ticket. And I think we could really do that here with some really cool conventions.
Because we have what do they call it? SuperCon.
Yeah, SuperCon.
Yeah. Having that downtown would be really, really fun.
Yeah.
So, and just making it walkable. Because they're thinking, and I know the plan's always changing, but that would be like over by where like the new skate park went up, right?
Yep.
Over there.
Yep. The old state building.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. Oh gosh, and then a third one. I actually thought about this before I came, but now I forgot it.
Oh no.
I would probably, I definitely have a list of restaurants that I would like to have. Like, I would love to have a good breakfast place on the east side.
Yeah.
And I would love to have, like more ethnic food options.
Yeah.
Coming from a melting pot in San Diego where I could drive 10 minutes and get the best food in the world, any kind.
For sure. I don't know. Sanaz is up there.
Sanaz is good.
Man,
Yep.
They're slowly, I think, integrating that. It's just going to take some time to get some more people over from East or West Coast to integrate that melting pot.
Yeah. Totally. Also, like a really cool craft distillery would be awesome.
Hey,
so stay tuned. That might be coming in a few years. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But,
well, Jenna, I think this is all good info. I think knowing like everyone has a voice, they should fill out surveys, they should vote for municipal governments.
Yes.
We're always looking to plan ahead for the city, and I think that's what makes this grow. And people should just move to Sioux Falls. And I appreciate you being on and just telling your story about how you've been integrated into this community.
Yeah, it's been great. Thanks for letting me share it. And you're right. All those points are just so important. So,
Perfect.
Yeah, we love Sioux Falls.
Perfect.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Move to Sioux Falls. Don't forget to follow and subscribe at Move to Sioux Falls for the latest content, and we'll see you next time.